Hello friends, welcome back to the lecture series on optics and spectroscopy. From this lecture onwards, we will going to discuss the unit number 2, interference and diffraction. In this lecture, we will discuss the definition for interference. We will see how interference occurs and types of interference, constructive interference and destructive interference. Then we will see what is Stokes law for reflection. Then interference in thin films, how colors occurs when a white light reflected from a thin film like a soap bubble or a film which is coated over an oil film which is coated over water. Okay, so these are the topics that we are going to discuss in this lecture. Let's start from the formal definition of interference with unit number 2, interference and diffraction. Interference and diffraction. Interference is a phenomenon that occurs when two waves interact with each other. Let's see with an example. Let us consider two interacting sine waves. For example, let's say this is one wave and this is another wave. So let's say this is wave A, this is wave B, and this axis is 0 axis, the maximum amplitude, let's say +1, and the lower maximum is -1. Here upper maximum is +1, lower maximum is -1. We have considered two identical waves. If these two waves interacts, what will happen? Let's draw that. So this is +1 and this is +2. Here -1, this is -2, the amplitude. What would happen? Both will add. In this case, both waves were started from 0 and you add each instantaneous amplitude values of two waves which are interacting so that it is obvious to find the resultant wave will be looking like this. Okay. Wherever there is a maxima, here there is a maxima, right? Wherever there is a minima, there is a minimum value. Okay? Essentially, the amplitudes of two waves are added so that in the maximum we will get maximum value, in the minimum we will get minimum value. Here +1 +1, these two maximum amplitudes are added so that we are getting +2 here. Similarly, when the -1 and -1 is added, we are getting -2 here. This is one situation. And let's have another situation where you can have another two waves. These are another two waves. Okay. Now here the maximum amplitude is again +1 and -1 for these two waves, right? In this case, what would be the resultant? Here also, if you have summed out, what will happen? +1 -1, right? Let's consider the peak. So +1 -1. So each instantaneous value, if you compare the value, here it is starting from 0, it's builds up in a positive direction. Whereas here, this wave, it is starting from 0, it is builds up in the negative direction. When you add plus 0.1 and minus 0.1, what will happen? It becomes 0. So that here what you will get? You will get nothing. When you add these two waves, you don't get any resultant wave. Right? These are the two cases of two interacting waves. This wave is a, let's say this wave is a light wave. Two light waves of particular frequency, both have same frequency. Only thing is its phase will be different. What happens? So these when these two waves are allowed to interact, the resultant wave shows different characteristics. But this phenomenon of adding up the amplitudes of two interacting waves is called interference. And this interference can be classified into two cases. One is constructive interference. Another one is destructive interference. Okay? And literally what it means is the definition for these two. Constructive interference means if you add the two interacting waves, the amplitude should be the addition of these two waves which are higher than the interacting wave. See, constructive interference creates maximum value in the resultant wave, whereas destructive interference creates zero, null value in the resulting wave, right? So this example is for constructive interference and this is the example for destructive interference. But constructive interference and destructive interference does not happen separately, right? So here we have considered the two waves of same frequency with different phases under certain suitable conditions. We could able to generate a constructive and destructive interference separately. Suppose, let us consider another case. You are having a wave like this. You are having another wave. You could not able to say where the constructive interference happens, where the destructive interference happens. Right? You have to add these two. If you add here, these two peaks are coincides, right? Whereas you can see that here what happens when the positive peak occurs in the second wave, while in the first wave it reaches the negative peak. So these will cancel out each other, right? Here it will builds up so that amplitude will be maximum. Here amplitude will be minimum. So when two waves are interacting, if these two waves are in different frequency, then the resulting wave will have constructive interference at some point and destructive interference at some point. Okay? Fine. When there is a constructive interference happen, the resultant will be maximum. When the destructive interference happen, the resultant wave will have minimum amplitude. Okay, so the resultant maximum intensity is called maxima, the resultant minimum or null intensity is called minima. We can able to write a mathematical equation for maxima and minima. So this maxima and minima we can able to write in terms of path difference, in terms of phase difference. Okay, path difference, we should understand what is path difference, what is phase difference. Path difference and phase difference. Okay, what is path, what is phase? See, if you are taking two waves, so this is one wave and this is another wave, for example. Or let's consider only single wave. If you are considering a wave, for this wave, what is phase, what is path? So this, what is phase, what is phase, what is path? This wave has a wavelength lambda, right? From this point to this point. Now this is at this point it is zero phase. this is the phase of 5 by 2. Here it is pi. Here it is 3 pi by 2. Here it is 2 pi. And this value of this angle will slowly increase, right? When the amplitude builds up. When it comes down, it further increases in this way, right? This theta is called phase. Okay. So what is path? Path you can express in terms of lambda, wavelength. Path difference that you can express in terms of lambda, wavelength. Fine. So path difference can be expressed in terms of delta. Phase difference, it is capital delta. Phase difference will be on small delta. Now let's write for the condition of maxima. Condition for maxima. Here, let lambda be the wavelength of interacting wave, and here delta be the phase difference, capital delta, small delta be the phase difference, capital delta be the path difference. Now, for this case, for the maxima, the phase difference, what would be the phase difference? What would be the path difference? When the maxima, that is the constructive interference, is to be happen, what should be the phase difference between the two waves? If this is the phase difference, then you could say the maximum interference will happen in this interacting two waves. Similarly, if this is the path difference, then maximum interference will happen, that is constructive interference will happen. That we could able to say. But what is that equation? How to obtain that? Okay, that is the question now. How to obtain is the question now. See, let's consider a wave. How to understand this is important. It's not just a matter of memorizing things. This is one wave. This is another wave, right? Both waves were starting from the same place. So this and this don't have any path, any phase difference. Both are starting from same point. Now let us have another wave, third wave. Which is starting from this point. So it's starting from this point, it's going like this. Okay. So not like this, the amplitude should be the same. Okay. See, this is wave A, this is wave B, this is wave C. And we have already seen when the wave A and wave B interacts, we will get constructive interference because both waves have started from same point. What about wave C? When you add A plus C, what would be the resultant wave? Here also constructive interference would happen. So if this is plus 1 and this value is plus 1, then here it will be plus 2, right? Because it is starting from 0, this also starting from 0, right? Not 0. So this is 0, this is pi, this is 2 pi, and this length is lambda. So here this length is lambda, it is lambda, this is 2 lambda, like this, then this is 2 lambda, this point will be lambda, right? Now see, when we are having two waves A and C, if this interacting waves A and C will have maximum amplitude, right? When this have difference of lambda, when you consider path difference will be lambda, or when the wave starts from here, that is from 2 lambda, when it starts say here, this wave starts from here, or instead if the wave starts from here, it goes like this, there also you will get constructive interference. So that when the path difference between two waves will be a lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda, whatever be the lambda, then when the lambda could be lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda, then you will get the maximum interference. Or in general, you can write when the path difference is m lambda, where m is equal to 0, which means both are in phase, or 1, the second wave starting at a difference of wavelength lambda, or if it starts after 2 lambda, all these cases we will get constructive interference, 1, 2, 3 and so on. Fine. What about phase? Here it is starting from the phase 0, here it is starting from the phase 2 pi. So that if the phase difference is 0, 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, if this happens, then we can get maxima. Or you can generalize when there is m pi. M pi means not m pi, you can write 2m pi, right? Then only when you write if m is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. If m equal to 0, then the phase difference will be 0 between the two interacting waves. When m equal to 1, it becomes 1, 2 into 1, 2 pi. So that this wave and this wave case, phase difference 2 pi, if it starts, then we will get maximum intensities, that is constructive interference. So this is the condition for phase difference and path difference between the two interacting waves to happen constructive interference or to happen maxima. And what about condition for minima? That is the intensity to become small or 0. Say, let's consider another wave. Let's say wave D. Or let me rub out. Fine. Let's draw another two waves separately in order to understand things. Let's say another wave. This is one wave. The another wave starting from, so this is 0, this is pi by 2 and this is pi, here it is 3 pi by 2 and 2 pi, right? Now a wave which is starting from here, where a wave which is starting from pi, if it happens like this. So what is this? This is lambda, right? This length is lambda for path. So here the second wave starting with a path difference lambda by 2. What about the phase difference? It is starting at the phase pi, and this is 2 pi, this is 3 pi and so on. Okay, these are the two interacting waves. Now what would be the resultant wave? If you add these two waves, what you will get? see, you can draw the resultant wave from this point. Here it is 0, here also it is 0. Here it is builds up in positive direction, it builds up in negative direction. So amplitude will be same but in opposite sign. So that what would happen, always when you starting from this point, you know, it is going up, it is going down, it's going down, it's going up, and it's going up in this direction, it's going down here. So that you will always have a null intensity when these two different waves interacts. So this creates destructive interference. Now, for destructive interference to happen, or the condition for minima, what would be the phase difference? What would be the path difference? Okay, what would be the phase difference? When the phase difference is pi and 3 pi, 5 pi, right? If phase difference is pi, 3 pi, 5 pi and so on, then destructive interference will happen. If you generalize this, what you can write? Phase difference is delta, path difference is capital delta, so your small delta, it is 2m plus 1 pi, where m equal to 0, 1, 2 and so on. Suppose if you apply m equal to 0, 2 into 0, 0, then it becomes pi. When if m is equal to 1, 2 into 1, 1, 1 plus 2, 2, 2 into 1, 2, 2 plus 1, 3, so 3 pi. If it is 2, 2 into 2, 4, 4 plus 1, 5, 5 pi. So when there is pi, 3 pi, 5 pi is the phase difference between the two interacting waves, then condition for minimum will occur, so that destructive interference will happen. What about in terms of path difference? Path difference in terms of lambda by 2, it starts from here, or this is lambda, this is 3 by 2 lambda, 3 by 2 lambda or 5 by 2 lambda. If this is the case, right, would you be able to understand how this happens? Lambda by 2, 3 by 2 lambda. See, this is lambda by 2. Next thing, or if the wave starts from this point, from which point? This is lambda. If it starts from lambda, then it becomes constructive interference, so that you will go here. So this point up to this, you know, up to this lambda, up to this point, and up to this point. What is that? 3 lambda by 2. 3 times lambda by 2. 1, 2, 3. So 3 lambda by 2. And so that when the path difference is lambda by 2, 3 lambda by 2 or 5 lambda by 2, then you could expect minimum intensity. So that when the delta becomes, if you generalize this, so lambda in terms of lambda by 2, how you can write? This is 1 or this is 3 or 5, like this. So you can write delta, which is equal to, you should have 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5 if you want to have, then 2m plus 1 lambda by 2. So if this is happen, when the path difference is 2m plus 1 lambda by 2, where m equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on, substitute 0. 2 into 0, 0, what will happen? We have lambda by 2 is the path difference. If you substitute 1, 2 into 1, 2, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 by 2 is the path difference. If you substitute 2, 2 into 2, 4, 4 plus 1, 5 by 2 is the path difference. So when these phase difference or path difference conditions are satisfied, then you will get an destructive interference. Good. Now, how would you relate the path difference and phase difference? The path difference and phase difference. Let's consider that equation for condition for maxima. Phase difference delta is equal to 2 m pi. Phase difference delta equal to m lambda. We need to create a connection between these two. So we write this in terms of m equal to delta by lambda. So let's say this is 1 and this is 2 and this is 3. Substitute the relation for m in terms of delta and lambda to the equation number 1. So you will get delta, which is equal to 2 times 2 pi by lambda into delta. Right? What we had it in the place of m, we have replaced delta by lambda. Remaining is 2 pi, right? So phase difference delta is equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference, right? Phase difference is equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference. This is the relation to connect phase and path difference. So in this way, we can understand what is constructive interference, what is destructive interference, or when the maximum intensities happen, when the minimum intensities happen, when two waves are interacting with each other. Right? We have derived the mathematical forms for this. Hope you would understand that. With this understanding, with these equations, we are going to see a very important derivation, right? Condition for maxima, phase difference delta that will happen for m lambda where m equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. For path difference, we can write this is 2m pi, here it is m lambda where m equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. Condition for minima to happen when the phase difference is 2m plus 1 pi or delta, which is equal to 2m plus 1 lambda by 2. In both cases, m running from 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. And when you connect delta with capital delta, that is the connection between path difference and phase difference is 2 pi by lambda into delta. Let's have this for our future reference. Now let's see what is Stokes law. This is the Stokes law. S-T-O-K-E-S, Stokes law. Stokes law for light. This Stokes law gives the phase change for incident and reflected light. Right? Let us consider there is a surface. When a light ray travels from one medium and it is hitting another medium and it's reflected back. Right? Assume that this medium has the refractive index n1, this medium has the refractive index n2. Now, based on the refractive index of the interacting medium, right, the incident light, when it is getting reflected, it will have some phase change. It will have some phase change. So this phase change is given by Stokes' law. What, according to Stokes' law, when this incident light is reflected from a denser medium than its previous medium, right? That is, when it is traveling through a medium 1, here it is medium 1, this is medium 2. So when the light is traveling from the medium 1 and getting reflected at the surface of the medium 2. If the refractive index of the medium 2 is higher than that of the refractive index of the medium 1, that is, this reflecting surface is a denser surface, then this incident ray will undergo the phase change of pi, right? When n2 is greater than n1, then the reflected ray will have the phase change of pi. Else, if the reflecting medium, that is the second medium, is rarer medium, right? When it is denser medium, phase change is pi. When it is rarer medium, then phase change will be 0. Without any change, the light will be reflected. This is given by Stokes' law. So essentially, Stokes' law states that when a light wave is reflected from a optically denser medium, it will undergo a phase change of pi when it is getting reflected. If it is a rarer medium, there is no phase change happens between incident and reflected light ray. And so this also will keep it for future reference. According to Stokes' law, so reflected ray has phase change pi when it is reflected from a denser medium. Let's keep this for future reference. That is what Stokes' law tells. 1. When we are washing our clothes, soap bubbles will be created. If we see the soap bubbles in the sunlight, it will produce multiple colors like rainbow. One situation. Another situation, when there is an oil film created over a water, like in a tumbler is filled with water, and if you put a one drop of oil over it, this oil will not mix it with water, rather it will create a film over the top surface of the water. When a white light is made to incident on this, then it will create a multiple colors, right? How it occurs? This could be explained using the phenomenon of diffraction and using the concepts of condition for maxima, minima and Stokes' law. For this purpose, let us consider one thin film of thickness T, and we will derive the condition for maxima and minima, and we will see how the multiple colors occurs when a white light is made to incident on a thin film of thickness T. So, interference in thin films by reflected lights. Interference in thin films by reflected lights. For this, let us draw a diagram of a thin film. So this is a thin film, okay, whose thickness is T. The thin film has the thickness T. It is a transparent film. When you pass the light, it passes through the thin film. During this process, some light may be reflected and some may be refracted. So it is a transparent thin film of thickness T. And its refractive index is N. The refractive index of this thin film, actually it is very thin. Though we have drawn, appears like a thick, that is for the diagrammatic purpose we have drawn in like a thick film. It's very thin film. Thin film of micrometer thickness. Now, let's have an incident wave, right? There is an incident wave, okay, it comes from the point A and it touches the thin film at the point B, and it is at point B, some of the ray is getting reflected back and some of the rays are refracted, okay. Portion of the rays is reflected and portion of the ray is refracted. Now the angle between the normal to the line of incident light is incident angle. Here it is, this R is refracted angle, angle of refraction. Fine. Now this reflected ray travels towards C. This refracted ray travels in this direction and it touches the bottom. Here the reflection occurs in the top surface of the thin film and the refracted ray touches the bottom at the point D. And here it undergoes a reflection and it undergoes a refraction. One more reflection and one more refraction. And the refracted ray goes in the direction I, and the reflected ray again it touches the upper surface at the point E. Then here again it's refracted in the outside and it travels like this and it travels in the direction of F. So that this is incoming light ray, it undergoes one reflection here, one refraction here in the top surface, and the bottom surface it undergoes one reflection, one refraction, and here it takes one reflection, right? And right, good. Now let us calculate the path difference between BC. So this is incoming light ray and this is one reflecting light ray, this is another one reflecting light ray, and we have to calculate the path difference between these two reflecting ray, that is reflecting ray of BC and BDEF. So we need to calculate the path difference between BC and BDEF, right? Now for this purpose let's draw two perpendiculars. Let's draw one perpendicular to BC. Let's draw a perpendicular to BC in such a way that that perpendicular meets the point E. So this is one perpendicular, right? So this, let's say NE. So this EN is one perpendicular and another one is perpendicular to DE. So that when you draw a perpendicular it should meet the point B. So that let's draw another perpendicular like this. So this, let's put M, this point, and this point N. So BM and En are the perpendiculars of DE. BM is the perpendicular of DE and EN is the perpendicular of BC. Perpendiculars of DE and BC. Okay, fine. And this height, let's denote this point as B and this point as H. So this height, vertical height, that is the height between the upper surface and lower surface of the thin film, that is BH, which is nothing but T, that is thickness of the film. That is the thickness of the film. Now let's extend this line BH in downwards. Let's extend this line BH in downwards. Similarly, let us extend DE in backwards. Right? Let's extend ED in backwards. So this both will meet at the point G. This both will meet at a point G, and now this height GH is also equal to T. So that if you write BG, then BG will be 2T. Okay, and this angle also become R. Here this angle is also equal to I, and this angle is equal to R. So when you do the when you try with the trigonometry, you will get this. Okay, so this is the basic definition. Now we can write. So with this basic assumptions, let's write for the path difference between BC and BDEF. Okay, so that's path difference between the two reflecting rays BC and BDEF, and that is nothing but that is nothing but, see, this is an incoming light ray, it is reflected like this. An incoming light ray, it undergoes a reflection, and it is again refraction. This line NC and EF are parallel lines, and this is the point where deviation take parts. One ray travels in this path, another ray travels in this path. So what we have to do, we have to calculate this length and subtract this length from that. That will give you the path difference between these two parallel rays. So this length is BN, and this path, and this we have to calculate. So that this we can write, first we have to calculate this path, which is nothing but the refractive index of the material multiplied by BD plus DE, okay, minus this BN. Assume that this is air medium, so that refractive index is 1. So that here refractive index is not multiplied, if you multiply it's 1, simple. Fine. Now here N, you can keep the BD, but this DE can be, it is, you can break this, it is the sum of DM plus ME. The sum of DM plus ME. DM plus ME minus BN. But, right, keep this. Now according to Snell's law, according to Snell's law, n1 sin theta 1 which is equal to n2 sin theta 2. In our case, n1 is equal to 1, n2 equal to n. Okay, and theta 1 equal to angle of incidence, theta 2 equal to angle of refraction. So that sin theta 1, here it is sin I, which is equal to this is n, it becomes sin r. So that you can write n is equal to sin I by sin r. From Snell's law we can write, okay, here n1 is the refractive index of the first medium, n2 is the refractive index of the thin film, theta 1 is the angle of incidence, theta 2 is the angle of refraction, right? If you substitute, you will get n equal to sin I by sin r. Okay, now with this triangle, which triangle? Now from the triangle, this is I, it is B, E, N. From this triangle we can write sin I. What is sin I? Sin I is opposite side by hypotenuse. For this is normal, so this is opposite side BN, this is hypotenuse BE. So here it is BN by BE, and sin R, and that we can write using this triangle. Which triangle? This triangle, that is a triangle like this. It is perpendicular. Now R is here, it is B, it is E, here it is M. Okay, now if you write the equation for sin R in this, for this R, this is opposite side and this is hypotenuse, so that what you will get, opposite side by hypotenuse, ME by BE, right? So now this and this will cancel out, we will get BN by ME. Okay, or we can write BN, which is nothing but N times ME. Okay, where is BN? Here there is a BN. This BN is replaced with N times ME. So that this equation becomes BD plus DM plus ME, or you can write N times BD plus N times DM plus N times ME. I brought N inside, minus N times ME, that is this BN is replaced with N times ME. What will happen? This will cancel out each other, so it becomes N times BD plus DM. What is BD? So this is BD and this is DM. Now another thing is, this BD and this DG is equal. Okay, so that we can write N times GD, this length, plus DM, or you can simply write N times GD plus DM is nothing but GM. GD plus DM is nothing but GM. So N times GM. Okay, N times GM. So this is the path difference between BC and BD EF. Okay. So let's mention the equation number in order to get an idea. So and this is equation number 1 and this is equation number 2 and this is equation number 3. Fine. Now let us consider the triangle PGM. PGM. Let's consider this triangle PGM. BGM, where this is, okay, this is perpendicular. Now here this is R, right? BGM. So this is normal, here angle is R. Now we can write, so for this triangle we can write cos R. We can write, for this triangle we can write the cos R. Cos theta is nothing but adjacent side by hypotenuse. What is adjacent side? And this is adjacent side, this is hypotenuse. So that GM by BG. But what is BG? BG is 2T, right? BG is nothing but 2 times thickness. So that it is nothing but GM by 2T, or you can write 2T cos R, which is equal to GM. This is equation 4. Okay, so this is the path difference, right? So this is, path difference is nothing but NGM. Okay, if GM is equal to 2T cos R, then now you can write the equation, final equation for path difference is, that is nothing but N times 2T cos R. N times 2T cos R, or you can, in legible you can write 2NT cos R. Equation 5. This is the equation for path difference between these two reflected rays, that is BC and BDEF. Okay, fine. Now for BC and EF, what is the net path difference in terms of, right, net path difference in terms of lambda, right? So if you write net path difference, if you write net path difference, how we can write net path difference between BC and EF? Path between BC and EF. How we will obtain this equation? This equation we can obtain this net equation for net path difference we can obtain by applying Stokes law. By applying Stokes law. How to apply Stokes law? See, here the light ray comes from a rarer medium and it is reflected at denser medium. When the light ray is reflected in the denser medium, then it has a phase change of pi. Right? It has a phase change of pi. So that at point B, phase change, right? phase change is phase change or phase difference between the incoming and reflected ray. Phase difference between incoming and reflected ray is delta, which is equal to pi. Delta, which is equal to pi. Okay, if you apply that in the equation for the relation between path and phase difference, if you substitute in this equation pi, which is equal to 2 pi by lambda into delta, or you can write delta is equal to lambda by 2. Okay, so this reflected ray BC has the path difference of lambda by 2 when compared with incident ray. So if you want a net path difference, you have to subtract this path difference 2nt cos r from lambda by 2, so that you can write this as 2nt cos r minus lambda by 2. So this is the net path difference. Okay, so this is the net path difference between the reflected and incoming ray. I mean, net path difference between BC and EF. Fine. Now, under which condition we will have a maximum intensity, under which condition we will have a minimum intensity? That is, when the film appear bright, when the film appear dark. That is the question, right? If the film want to be appear bright, then it should satisfy the condition that 2nt cos r minus lambda by 2 should be, if you want maxima, it should be m lambda. It should satisfy the condition of m lambda. In this case, 2nt cos r, which is equal to, if you bring this lambda by 2 on the right side, m plus 1 lambda by 2. Is it correct? 2m, sorry, 2m plus 1 lambda by 2. If this is the case where m equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 will yield you bright spot, right? When this condition satisfies, then the film will be appear bright. When the film will be appear dark, right? If 2nt cos r minus lambda by 2, which is equal to, what is the condition for dark minima? 2m plus 1 lambda by 2. If this is equal to, so let's write this as pi, which is equal to 2 pi lambda into delta. Pi will cancel out, so delta equal to lambda by 2. This is the relation. Let it be there. Now, if you want the film to be appear dark, then it should satisfy 2nt cos r minus lambda by 2 should be equal to 2m plus 1 lambda by 2. 2m plus 1 lambda by 2. If you bring this lambda minus lambda into the lambda by 2 into the right hand side, 2nt cos r, which is equal to 2m plus 1 lambda by 2 plus lambda by 2. So you can write, it becomes 2m plus 2 lambda. Sorry, Okay, here what would be, let's say 2m plus 1 lambda. So you can take out 2m plus 1 common, so that m plus 1 lambda. So this becomes m plus 1. See how you would understand. You can let me write this over here, over somewhere I need to write, over here I can write 2m plus 1 and the lambda by 2 is common, so that it becomes 2m plus 2 into lambda by 2. You can take 2 common, so 2m plus 1 lambda by 2, 2 to cancel out, so that we will get m plus 1 lambda. If 2nt cos are equal to m plus 1 lambda, then you will get dark fringes. Okay, and m plus 1 can be written as m lambda, or you can write m lambda, where m equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. See, m plus 1 lambda and m lambda doesn't make any sense. If it is m plus 1 lambda, then if you put 0, it becomes 0 plus 1 lambda. And that case also we will have a dark line. If it is the case, see here we will have, if you apply m from 0 to 1 to 3, you will get lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda, 4 lambda. If this is the case, we will get 0 lambda, 1 lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda. So in both cases we will have 1 lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda, so that we can write 2nt cos r, which is equal to either m plus 1 lambda or m lambda. In these two cases we will get dark, the film appears to be dark. Okay, fine. So, and in this way we can understand the interference in thin films of thickness T, right? So in a nutshell, what we have done, we have considered a thin film of thickness T and an incoming light ray A which undergoes a reflection at point B and one reflection on refraction, and in the bottom surface it undergoes another refraction and reflection, right? For that we have calculated the equation for path difference, an equation for net path difference, and we obtained the condition for the film to be appear bright and the film to be appear dark. Okay, see here, this light is a monochromatic light. It has single color, right? Suppose if this light is an white light, right? See here, the occurrence of bright or dark, that depends on refractive index, thickness, angle of refraction, right, wavelength. Okay, see in these cases, for us the refractive index for different color will be different. Okay, the refractive index for different color will be different, so that whenever this equation is satisfied, there the bright colors will be appeared. The color will be for different colors. If the condition is satisfied by bright, then the bright color will appear. When the condition is satisfied by dark, then that color will be absent. So that when a white light is made incident on a thin film of thickness T, so the colors which are colors with the refractive index n which are satisfying the bright condition, then it appears in the reflected ray. Which are the colors that satisfies the condition for dark will not appear in the reflected ray. That's why there are different colors are appears in the reflected ray in a film like soap bubble or oil floated over a water surface. So with this, let me stop this lecture, and in the next lecture we will discuss about air wedge, and using the concept of air wedge we will see how to estimate the diameter of a thin wire. Kindly go through this concept. If you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment. I will promptly reply you. Thank you.